Yeah, I want to say a few things about sort of my approach to AI. I teach at Hostos Community College. There, over 60% of the student body is mostly ESL, immigrants, mostly from the Caribbean. The remaining 30% mostly from the Bronx, African Americans. And recently we have ever-growing number of folks coming from different countries in Africa. And so, but in my classes, I only mostly see the ESL Caribbean students. All right. So it's very specific demographic there. And so, just as my research is concerned with issues of social justice, so is my pedagogy. And instead of approaching, and I'm going to bring this up here because unfortunately, both at my campus and many other spaces that I've been in, a lot of the discussion about AI revolves around issues of plagiarism. And it's okay to have those concerns, but we need to move from those discussions into finding creative ways to empower our students, because unfortunately, what's happening is that, just as the so-called digital gap, affects minority groups, we could argue that, the AI literacy gap is tremendous, right? Students might seem to know what they're doing, but they're really not in many respects. At the same time, they're bringing into the table a lot of knowledge because they have a multiplicity of experience, migratories and otherwise, they might, they multilingual, so they bring in a lot of wealth of information that we should be relaying on to develop our assignment. So that was kind of the rationale that I have creating this particular, guide, writing, AI enhanced essay writing guide is what I call it. And because I wanted to draw from their particular experiences, the whole guide or the main prompt for the guide, it's basically an autobiographical essay, which it's a mixed genre essay in which they have to talk about themselves, but they have to do so from a historical and from a conceptual point of view. I teach classes on, the Latin American and Caribbean Studies department, so my classes deal with, history of migration, culture, identity, and so on and so forth. So it's a very nice fit to have as the final assignment, this particular assignment. And that's what I did. So, sorry, let me just... But nonetheless, I'm pretty sure that, most of us has started, with the question of when I read a student essay, when I sit with it, follow its arguments, hear its voice, am I reading a student, right? And this is the question that when we sit down finally to grade, we often have, right? This question is uncomfortable and sometimes impossible to answer. Students have borrowed ideas, learn on tutors, share drafts. None of that is new, but generative AI has changed the scale and the texture of that question in ways that deserve a serious pedagogical response. Not panicked, not dismissive, but serious. Most of our students are already using AI. Not all, not always, but enough that pretending otherwise is an institutional fiction. And most are using it without guidance, without instruction in how to evaluate what it produces, how to recognize when it has replaced their thinking, or what it fundamentally cannot do. We have responded in two ways. Some of us has banned AI altogether and hopes that the problem disappears. Some have permitted it and hope for the best. Neither is a pedagogical strategy. We have not given students tools to use AI as a critical practice, one requiring judgment, verification, revision, and accountability. The central issue is not whether generative AI exists. It does. It's out of the hat, right? The question is whether we will design instruction that helps students develop judgment, voice, and responsibility in relation to it, or leave that to chance. Responsible AI use is a learnable skill, but only if we teach it explicitly. Most of us are not doing that. What I want to share today is one concrete attempt to address this. I developed an AI-enhanced essay writing guide for a writing intensive course at Hostos, a 5-page mixed genre autobiographical essay integrating personal narrative with historical research, built around one conviction: students must remain the true authors. And responsible AI use is a learned skill requiring explicit instruction. This is not an AI permission slip. It is a pedagogical framework with one clear hierarchy. Student thinking and voice comes first. AI comes after as a tool requiring oversight, evaluation, and frequent correction. The guide opens before an AI instruction with a frank account of what AI cannot do. AI can fabricate historical facts with complete confidence. It can reproduce stereotypes about the very communities our students belong to. It can produce writing that is grammatically smooth but hollow, stripped of specific details, cultural memory, particular voice. And critically, AI cannot verify its own outputs. For a writing assignment integrating real historical sources, that is not a minor caveat. It is a direct threat to intellectual integrity. These limitations are stated directly at the beginning of the guide before any instruction on tools or prompts. First, a write first rule. Before opening any AI tool, students write in their own words. The first draft is where the student's voice originates. Second, 4 evaluation questions apply to every AI suggestion. Is it accurate? Can I verify it? Is this my voice? Does this preserve my specific story? Does this make my thinking stronger or just my sentences clearer? Third, an annotate before and after example. 4, explicit voice protection guidance. Not just maintain your voice, but what losing your voice looks like when a community-specific word becomes a generic academic term, when a particular memory becomes a culturally significant experience. Fifth, a non-punitive disclosure expectation. Students submit a brief process note, accountability, not surveillance. A student wrote about her, I'm just get a little example here. A student wrote about her grandmother's migration from Puerto Rico in 3 generic sentences. She asked AI to make it more engaging. The AI added historical direction, Puerto Rican migration in the 50s, but replaced her specific details with remarkable resilience and navigating the challenges of immigration life in an unfamiliar cultural environment. She applies the 4 questions. Is it accurate? Maybe, but it needs verification. Her voice? No. Remarkable resilience? Is it a textbook caption? Her specific story? No. Erase the South Bronx, erase the concrete hardship. Verdict, reject the language. Use the historical direction as a research prompt. Revise her own draft. Her final paragraph added Operation Bootstrap, kept the specific location, restored the concrete details the AI had generalized away. More historically grounded and more personally specific than either version. That is what AI, using AI looks like. Question of equity, right? AI systems are trained primarily on dominant culture data. They have well-documented tendencies to reproduce reductive, culturally shallow narratives about the Caribbean, Latinx, and immigrant communities, the very communities many of our students belong to and are writing about. A student asking for historical context about her own community may receive a confidence summary that misrepresented. The guide names this directly. AI might flatten or stereotype the very story you are trying to tell. That is not a reason to avoid AI. It is a reason to approach it critically. Explicit instructional guideline matters most for students whose voices institutions have historically been least equipped to recognize. This is not a soft approach to academic integrity. Students who follow the guide write a first draft in their own words, apply 4 evaluation questions to every AI suggestion, verify all factual claims independently, compare versions deliberately, and submit a process note. That is more rigorous work than most students do without AI. This is not a claim that AI improves writing. Critical use can improve it. Passive use will not. And this is not designed for students who will misuse it regardless. It is designed for students who need explicit guidance to use AI well. And in my experience, that is most of them. We're not going to teach our way out of generative AI. I mean, that's clear now, right? I hope so. It is here. It is accessible, and it is becoming more capable. But whether our students become passive consumers of AI output or active, critical, rhetorically aware evaluators of it, that question is still open. And it is pedagogical, it is a pedagogical question, not a technological one. Writing is not just production, it is judgment, it is thinking, the accumulation of decisions about what to say, how to say it, what to keep, what to cut, and what only you could have written. AI cannot make those decisions for you. It can only generate options. This guide gives students the vocabulary, the criteria, and the habits of mind to make those decisions themselves. This is not a compromise with AI. It is exactly what writing instruction has always been. Thank you.